scene opens tonight, as most open. It's been a few hours. Edwin's been on his walk. Well, on a walk tonight. The past week, he spent more hours indoors than he generally likes. Reviewing, going over his 10-spot profile, his little business venture, to try and see what it is he can do to improve. But tonight, he just had to get out. And the slight pang of hunger or thirst, I guess it's really irrelevant what the feeling is. A need, a drive for something. If he were to let it go any longer, it would override him. And now, he's been walking through various streets within the Palm. Looking for, suppose, that one person out of the bunch that takes a different route, takes a less populated route for one reason or another. Maybe they just want to try to get away from people on their way home or on their way back to their car. Maybe they just want a brief respite from the crowds, the throngs, of the populace of New Sarum. For Edwin, he goes over a few times the last chat he had with Jess. Trying to remember what she was like at least 4 years ago. 6 years ago, perhaps, yes. Happier thoughts are long before she ever found herself in prison. And then this existence. The description of her feeling as she came into contact with a piece of silver jewelry. It's not anything common. It's not something that he would have necessarily been told. But the feeling is what he concentrates on more than ever as he crosses from one street corner to another, making sure beforehand the traffic is clear. He races across the little quick just to be on the safe side. And let's see. At this point, Edwin himself seems to have gotten away from a lot of the crowd that he was walking through earlier. Let me get just a little chance die. Let's see. So there's not many people around, but what is the chance there's one or two? Nope. The feeling, more than anything, that's what preoccupies his mind. That feeling as if the beast were threatened, just like he was told if he's put into a threatening or a life-threatening, safety-threatening, or compromising position, the beast will lash out like a cornered animal. Not much difference between a cornered animal and the beast. Aside from that, the only other thought that really overrides Edwin's mind is how to help his sister. He thinks there's something else going on with her, but he has no proof. And that tears him up. Feels helpless. Maybe a little more alone now than he has been when he was isolated for a year of his own accord. Sure, little white lies to cover up the absolute truth, but is it really a morally compromising action if it keeps you safe, if it keeps others safe? Doesn't know. Continues walking, crossing from another street corner to street corner. The crowds of people are a lot thicker along this street. A few more in the crowd. I'm going to make a wit sense streetwise. As Edwin crosses the street, he looks into the crowd to see if he can spot that one person taking a slightly different route, a slightly more isolated route. That one separating from the many. Continues crossing, reaching the other side. Eventually coming to take a seat on a bench on the sidewalk. Takes his phone out, begins scanning for Wi-Fi signals, places a pair of earbuds, one in one ear, and looks for something to listen to. Doesn't take him too long, and he secures his phone, secures his connection as best he can. Sitting, thinking. Make a chance die. See if anyone else sits down next to him. Nope. After a couple moments, Edwin gets up. Having found something to listen to, he places his phone into the pocket on his hooded sweatshirt and begins heading back south towards the edge of the palm. Wondering, really thinking about one question. Is it only about blood? Is there anything else to this existence except blood? He ponders, just kind of lets this roll around his mind, using the knowledge, the information, the data that he has himself, the things he knows, to try and find some answer. But for him, at least tonight, it all comes back to the same thing. And in that, what could be more depressing? Blocks go by as he gets closer and closer to the southern border of the palm. He keeps another eye out for people walking alone. I'm going to make another wits end streetwise. Not seeing anyone at all, walking alone, seeing more and more people walking amongst groups, at least two. He thinks back to what happened with some students at the Bay College campus. They were in groups. It didn't do them much good. Continuing down the street, he comes across he heads down a subway access, catching a car back towards catching a train back towards the South Docks area, the Blade. When the subway train pulls up, he gets on in one of the further back cars. Not all the way at the back, but close. Seeing a homeless man walking down the aisle before he takes a seat. A couple people, 3, 4 people, get up as he passes and walk out of that car to one further forward, leaving only Edwin and the homeless man in this car. Edwin walks in, pulling the earbud from his ear, pausing the music, playing. He wraps it around his phone, placing it back in the pocket of his hooded sweatshirt. He sits down next to the man. Hey, you having a good night? The homeless man just kind of sits there for a little bit, kind of in a dejected haze, till he finally looks up. Edwin kind of makes a gesture with his hand, saying hello. The man, as if almost startled, kind of recoils. What do you want? I didn't do nothing to no one. I just want to sit here and just be left alone. Edwin looks. It's okay. I'm not here to shoo you off. I was just wondering if you've eaten today. No. No. Oh. He reaches into his pocket, pulls out $10. He says, "Well, would you like to eat?" Man looks at Edwin before reaching out to take the money from his hand. What's the catch? No catch. Just you look hungry, kind of look a little dejected, down and alone. Everyone else left the car when you just walked by. Maybe I'd do something nice for you. Man reaches out, takes the money from Edwin's hand. Thank you. Thank you, buddy. Thank you. Thank you. I could use the company myself. Man gets up just for a brief moment to put the money into his pocket, kind of rearranging his coat, rearranging perhaps some of the effects in his pocket itself until he finds an empty one. But in that moment, Edwin seizes the opportunity. He steps behind the man just as his head's turning. Edwin's head, fangs bared, go down to his neck. Edwin grabs a hold of him and begins to drink. And I will say alcohol. Man's been drinking. As the blood courses down his throat, Edwin begins to taste almost a sour taste in the VTMYTE as the world begins to mellow out and slow quite a bit. Not like it did before. like as if he were relaxed and enjoying a beer. He continues drinking, the constant thought, finish before somebody comes in, keeping that little nagging feeling in the back of his mind, that other voice, that other presence that he's been told about at bay. He's hungry, but he's not that hungry. So he continues to drink a little bit more. And this he will take two blood points. He drinks the blood fast enough to where when he brings his head up, licking the wound as he does so, the man collapses from partially the shock and the alcohol in his system. Edwin catches the man, sits him down in the chair, leaning his head on one of his arms against the seat of the subway car. He checks the corner of his mouth to make sure no blood, licks it from his fingers, and then takes his tongue and kind of runs it over his teeth a little bit. Feeling a little bit more sated for the evening, he walks to the next car forward, sits down at the first seat he finds, waiting for the car to pull up the next stop. While he'll get off, continue back on his way home.